Going down, sourdough squad. Oh my goodness. Gracious great balls of fire. We have football today. Can you believe it? Like, I want to let you all know that these ginger bearded eyeballs was watching 49ers football today. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Can you believe such thing exists? At this point, I was starting to feel like all we could talk about is Trey Lance arm fatigue and Deebo Samuel's contract and what's going on with Jimmy. I was getting a little crazy. But today was a beautiful day. We got to watch all the things. We have a lot to talk about. Very excited about the developments around the San Francisco 49ers offensive line. Oh boy, there are some developments occurring, ladies and gentlemen, on that offensive line. We had a roster move today. We got to monitor Trey Lance arm fatigue. We got to see some players stand out. We got to see some body language. We got to see guys returning. Oh boy, we have real football to talk about. Let's go. So we're going to talk about it all. My mind is like going in a million different directions about the 49ers offensive line. I'll tell you, and you're going to see it. You're going to see me spinning. You might start spinning with me because I think we got some developments occurring on the 49ers offensive line. All kinds of fun stuff. So we're going to get into it, but you already know what to do. Before we can do that, I need all of you right now to do me a solid and drop an SDS in the chat if you're rocking with this training camp, boy. And smash that like button on your way out if you don't mind, because we had 49ers football today. What a blast. First of all, let me shout out the 49ers for always putting on. I've been going to training camp since 2011. Like, I've been going to training camp for a long time. Shout out to all the SDS. I've been going to training camp for a long time. And they really do make it so enjoyable for fans. They brought us onto the field. Like, we were like, felt like an arm's reach. Like, I'm like, oh, there's Trey. It's like, oh, there's Deebo. And here's Deebo chilling on the sideline again with all the rest of the players. We were like, felt like 10, 15 feet away from them. And, big thing is, okay, Deebo's been off to the side. He's working off to the side while his contract negotiation thing gets figured out, and rightfully so. And I know a lot of people have been talking about, well, Brandon Nyuk, Deebo, and Trey Lance, they've been building such a great rapport, all this kind of stuff. Well, you have Deebo Samuel. He's chopping it up with some of the defensive players. And here comes Trey Lance and just comes up behind Deebo Samuel, gives him a big bro hug, and they're all like, they're chopping it up. Good vibes, good energy. And it's awesome to just see those little things, right? That's the cool thing that you get to see when you get to go to training camp. You get to see the small things, the things that kind of stand out, the human element of football, which I always talk about as something that needs to be measured. It's important, all those types of things. It really, really does matter. And being able to see those types of interactions up close and personal is a lot of fun. So we're going to be talking about all different kinds of stuff today. Again, primarily, they're cooking up something in that offensive line room, I'll tell you. But let's talk a little bit of Trey Lance to begin with. Obviously, this is the first time that we have gone into training camp with Trey Lance as the unquestioned quarterback uno. Jimmy Garoppolo has been excused. He will not be at practice. So this is the first opportunity that us as fans have been able to get our eyeballs on Trey Lance as quarterback one, and it was good to see. I'm not going to lie. Quarterbacks look good today. I'm talking all the quarterbacks. Sudfeld, we had Sudfeld darts. Oh boy, we had Sudfeld darts. We had Trey Lance darts. We had Brock Purdy darts, baby. Like, I think the 49ers are going to be okay. I know there's a lot of talk, it'd be a good idea to keep Jimmy Garoppolo around. And I feel okay. Sudfeld looks nice, baby. Put some respect on Nate Sudfeld, bro. Like, Sudfeld was dropping dimes. Sudfeld had this one throw. Phenomenal throw. It was probably 25 yards down the sideline to the left. It was to Malik Turner. Made a beautiful catch, by the way. But down the left sideline, it was anywhere from 25 to 35 yards, and it was just this looping drop in the bucket. There's great coverage, and it was in between safety and bracketed cornerback coverage, and he just dropped it right onto the side of the part of the sideline where only Malik Turner could get it. Oh, okay. The confidence of having Nate Sudfeld as the backup went up. We talked about it last year. Jordan, I was watching practice with Jordan Elliott. Steph Sanchez was out there. Oh, first of all, shout out to everyone who stopped in this ginger beard and said what's good. We snapped we got some pictures with some people. We got all kinds of stuff, man. Shout out all the homies that said what's up. It was super cool seeing everyone out in their element, just vibing with 49ers football. Shout out to everyone who came and said what's up. It was a good time. It really, really was a good time. But I was sitting there with Jordan Elliott of Niners Nation, and we were just watching it all play out. And Nate Sudfeld looks good. I don't think we got to worry about Nate Sudfeld. But we're not here to talk about Nate Sudfeld. We're here to talk about Trey Lance. And I'm happy to report to you guys, I'm happy to let you guys know that we saw zero signs of arm fatigue. There wasn't one, I didn't see Trey Lance have to take a breather. I didn't have to see Trey Lance go off to the side, tap himself out. I didn't see him, doing one of those oh, my arm's just tired. We saw none of it. And also to one of the takeaways from what I saw today, shout out the homie Travis, got to catch up with the 49er faithful God. Shout out Travis. I'll see my guy there tomorrow. But one of the things too with watching Trey Lance, there has been this underbelly of people who like to discredit Trey Lance for whatever reason to fit their narrative or whatever. But whenever there's a slight wobble, it's like these alarms go off. People see a little wobble and they're like, "Ooh, wobble." It's this weird thing that's now developed around Trey Lance. I'm happy to report that I saw a lot of tight spirals today. There was this one pass. This was when I was on the sideline, probably, like I said, 15 feet away from where the sideline was. They were doing team period. This was the last team period of the day. Offense was going towards us. So I'm looking diagonal down the barrel at Trey Lance and the offense. They're probably about 20 to 35 yards that way. And so on this particular route, you had George Kittle streaking across the field towards the sideline where I was at. And Trey just unleashed this dart. And it was the perfect angle because where I was standing and where he threw it, it was like if Kittle didn't catch it, it would have came and hit me straight in the head. So I got to see the ball just jump out of his hands it looked like it didn't even move. It was just, and George Kittle went and plucked it right on the sideline. Tough catch, but it was one of those types of catches where you had to fit it in there. And I'm like I said, I had the perfect angle. It looked like it was headed straight for the middle of my forehead based on the angle that I was at. So I saw the whole wind up, the ball come out. It shot about, I mean, it wasn't like a crazy deep pass or anything like that, but it was an out to the sideline, probably about, 8 yards from the line of scrimmage. And it was just a laser. And Kittle got it. And like I said, that spirals. So whether it was warm-ups, whether it was in team drills, whether it was 7-on-7, I'm not seeing that wobble that people are so obsessed about these days. So I wanted to just report that out. Because it feels like anytime I post a video, like it's just like, oh, Trey Lance is a wobble. Like, what are we talking about? Like, we're critiquing practice throws that have a little wobble to them. Like, come on. And so I am happy to report today that the finger's healthy. Remember, last year he had the broken index finger on his throwing hand, which guess what? Could probably affect some things in how you throw a football. Also, by all accounts, legs healed up, no knee sprain, everything's looking good. All that good stuff. So I'm pleasantly surprised. Not surprised. Not surprised at all. That's not the right word. I'm happy. I'm happy because I thought it was crazy talk to begin with, and I think it's crazy talk. So happy to hear that Trey Lance is, and also too, you know, if you're in the SDS, you know how I work. I'm evaluating everything, like whether it's throwing against air, all that kind of stuff. Like, and I have been tracking and evaluating Trey Lance from a pre-draft process when it was just all these workout videos. So I knew what his technique looked like, his throwing motion, his hitch, everything. I knew what his cues were and his quirks were in his technique pre-draft. I've seen the progress post-draft, and now we're seeing the progress into year 2. He just looks smoother. You know what I mean? He just looks like everything is like, you've heard people in the outside kind of describe him as kind of clunky with some of his mechanics because he's retooling his mechanics. And we've talked about how that's actually a possibility. Like when you're retooling mechanics, that could happen. So he looks smoother. Everything looks natural. I don't think they tried any deep balls really with Trey. Everything was measured. I think this part of training camp, and I'd like to describe this part of training camp to everyone too, that it's a slow ramp up. It's a slow ramp up. They're not going to come out today with no pads and be going 100 miles an hour and just going crazy. So I like to put that particular piece of context out with today's practice. This is day 1 of on-field work, and there's no pads. So already no pads, it drops down a level of intensity, plus the fact it's day 1. So they're not at full speed. So I want to make that clear with everything that we're watching. So the things that we're evaluating today, they're more small and nuanced, because until those pads come on, I'm really not going to be able to tell you a whole lot about, well, this offensive lineman or this defensive lineman did this, did that, because there's no pads. So everything is really just like leverage blocking. It's like there's no pads. So we got to put that little piece of context out there. So within the context of what was asked of Trey Lance today, there were some passes that were broken up, but there also were some passes that were completed. And overall, I would say based on practice number 1, I saw nothing to be concerned about. Again, he's a growing quarterback. He's a quarterback that needs the reps, needs to get out there and sling it. So I would imagine that they're going to bring him up at a certain pace. So based on what I saw today, I saw nothing that would be alarming, nothing that would like cause a trigger or something to be like, maybe some of these critiques that have been mentioned, maybe I didn't see anything. I just saw them making a slow ramp up. It's day one. So far, so good. Now, if we show up tomorrow and Trey is, flailing balls, timing's off, we'll talk about that. But so far, based on the context of what today is, thought he did just fine. I want to get this post out. Hold on. Would be a great opportunity to smash that like button. But again, I know everyone wants to talk about that situation, but so far so good. All right, now let's move on to I am going to deem the most intriguing thing of training camp so far. You guys know me. I am going to watch the offensive line. It's half the reason why I go to training camp. I have an offensive lineman's jersey hanging up behind me. I'm a former offensive lineman, so I pay very close attention. So again, to contextualize what we're talking about, we're not watching so much for assignment-based, technique-based evaluations today. What we're looking for is who's out there. Who's running with the ones? Who's running with the twos? Who's running with the threes? So today, boy, today was interesting. So this is what the starting lineup was today. Trent Williams was excused for a family matter. And just so you guys know, last year, Trent Williams barely participated in any team periods. He's a veteran. He's heading into year 13. The dude doesn't need to practice. He is who he is, and he's phenomenal. So he didn't participate today, but that's not cause for concern. So this is what the starting offensive line looked like, going from left to right. Colton McKivitz, no surprise there. Colton McKivitz stepped in for Trent Williams when the 49ers needed him week 18 in a spot start to go to the playoffs. No surprise that Colton McKivitz was the guy to step in for Trent. Left guard, Aaron Banks. I don't think there's any surprise there either. I think we all knew that Aaron Banks is slated to replace Laken Tomlinson. We all understand it. We all get it. Aaron Banks. Okay. First team center to start practice. And this is where we will continue to build out the developments of the offensive line. Stay tuned. To start practice, Jake Brendel took snaps with the starting unit. Makes sense, right? Jake Brendel, we've been told that all year. He's, they have a lot of faith and confidence in him. Makes a lot of sense. You ready? Some of you guys know already, but are you ready? Right guard, Spencer Burford. Let me say that again. Starting right guard all day, the entire day. Whenever the first team unit was on the field, not a rotation, no one else was. Burford. The 49ers' 4th round draft pick at a UTSA, Spencer Burford, was starting at right guard. And this is where the offensive line situation, whoo, heats up a little bit. And we're going to continue to talk about how it continued to progress throughout practice. So, all right, big surprise. I was like, who's 74? I was like, is that Joe Staley out here? What are we doing? I was like, who's my brain? I was like, okay, I know McKivitz, Banks, Brendel, 74. My mind automatically goes to Joe Staley. I'm like, Joe Staley isn't, he's retired. I was like, what? I was like, oh yeah, Spencer Burford. It just threw me off, man. Threw me off. And okay. Then right tackle. First team right tackle. Big Mike Mcglinchey. Let's go, Mike. Let's go. So that was the starting unit. The very first team period. They had multiple. Now, we're going to continue to talk about this because it continued to evolve throughout training camp. So they kind of bounce back and forth between individual, team period, special teams, team period, 9-on-7. Like they kind of bounce around. They clearly have a very specific order into how their practices are segmented. So they kind of like they do like a walkthrough period. They do like, so they do their warm-ups. They have a way in which they move through each period. So the first period where we got to see the starters, that's what it was. Those were the guys. When they kind of transitioned towards the later end of practice, when they do real like 11-on-11 periods, team periods, they do multiple team periods, but I think I'm always going to believe that the last team period that they do at the end of the day is going to be the most like impactful team period. So no surprise, right? No surprise. They roll out the first starting offensive line in this last team period. Mike Mcglinchey is out. Makes sense. We kind of talked about that with Mike when we had Mike on. Just like, what do you think your involvement is going to be in training camp, in team periods? It's the same thing that he discussed. He's like, I don't know exactly what the involvement will be in team period. And I said, rightfully so. They did the same thing with Bosa. Bosa barely played in any of the team periods in training camp last season. So no surprise there. So who came in at right tackle was Jalen Moore. So the first starting offensive line for the last team period of the day was Colton McKivitz, Aaron Banks, Jake Brendel, Spencer Burford, Jalen Moore. That was the 49ers starting offensive line. And this is where we start bubbling. This is where my juices start flowing as someone who's been in offensive line battles, who has been that guy who showed up to training camp in college thinking I'm some hot shot, like I'm about to walk in as a starter, and they set up the first 3 groupings and I'm in the back. I'm like, why am I in the back? Like, what are we doing? And to kind of bring a context to it, just because what it is today doesn't mean that's what it will be throughout the entirety of camp. Guys are going to move. They're going to give the first guys an opportunity, and then we're going to see how things gel. And this is where things get really, really interesting with the 49ers offensive line. But before we get there, only 80 likes? Come on, boys and girls. This is A1 premium content. Where are you going to get offensive line content like this? Come on, smash that like button. I would very much appreciate it. And we will continue on with our evaluation of the offensive line because it does get more fun for me. Shout out 49ers Throwback. We see you, legend, on Twitter. He says, good to see Kittle. It was great to see Kittle. We'll get to Kittle too. Kittle, just ultimate fan favorite, obviously. And you heard Burford stood out. Burford's a starting right guard as of right now, but we're going to keep getting into it. There's still more to unravel with the 49ers offensive line. There's still more to unpack here. So, all right. Well, that leaves the question. What happened to Dan Brunskill? But did the 49ers just throw Brunskill to the side and just relegate him as a backup? Now, this is where the offensive line development, in my opinion, gets the blood pumping. So it started out so this is how it works. You guys know that centers, quarterbacks, the snapping involved, they're always going to work on snapping pre-practice. So the quarterbacks are going to go over to the centers and the centers are going to snap the ball. They work on their snaps. It's a muscle memory thing. You just got to snap. Every time when I went out to practice, me and my quarterback, we would go 15 minutes before practice started. All we would do is work on snaps. Again, it's just a muscle memory thing. You just got to do it to the point where you don't even think about it anymore. So you're always going to work snaps before practice between your centers and quarterbacks. So with this situation, the person who was taking snaps with the three quarterbacks, Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, and Nate Sudfeld, it wasn't Donovan West. It wasn't Jason Poe. It wasn't Sutherland. It wasn't any of these other centers that we had kind of been thinking about. It was Daniel Brunskill. So Brunskill was taking snaps with Trey Lance, with Sudfeld, and that's when the wheels started turning. The wheels started turning. So Brunskill is taking snaps as a center. Today, Brunskill did not take any team reps at guard. Let me say that one more time. I talked about it. They played multiple team periods. Brunskill did not take a single snap at guard. What did Brunskill do? He took snaps at center. And now this is how I'm going to tell you that Brunskill is competing to be the starting center right now. So he was taking all the reps with the twos, right? I was like, and again, they did this last year. They put Brunskill at center for one day, and then they moved him back to right guard. Maybe something similar happens. Again, nothing that we're talking about is definitive. This can all change and mature all throughout training camp. This is how it's starting. This is the baseline foundation of how they're structuring their offensive line groupings, and this will change, and this will evolve once camp continues. But like I said, Daniel Brunskill did not take a single snap at guard today. We heard about it from Matt Mayoko a couple days ago about how Brunskill could be transitioning to center. We heard about it from Mayoko asked Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan said, hey, Brunskill might play center. Ladies and gentlemen, Brunskill is playing center right now. And to kind of give you a glimpse that he's not totally second string is because in that last team period, they put, so it was Brendel first out, right? Then they go to second, third string, and then they rotate back to first. Well, when the first team came back, guess who was your starting center? It was Daniel Brunskill. So Daniel Brunskill got starting center reps today with Trey Lance and the starting 49ers offensive line. So you guys remember when Alex Mack retired, I'm like, put Brunskill at center. It's all over my Twitter. I said the second Mack retired. Sorry, I get really excited about talking about the offensive line. But they put Brunskill at center with the ones. So I think this is an opportunity for Daniel Brunskill this season to play at center. I think that's what we are looking at. So like I said, they're already splitting reps. You talk about splitting reps. We talked about that last year with the quarterback. They're splitting reps right now at center. So right now they put Brunskill behind Brendel, but they're already splitting reps. So I see a situation that is going to continue to move forward where Brunskill will eventually be the center, and they're trying to get reps at right guard for Burford or for whoever else who could be potentially playing next to Brunskill. So that's how I see it playing out. Right now, Brunskill is second team center. We'll see how long, but you can tell it gets me excited. Meanwhile, you guys are talking about carne asada and ramen in the chat. I'm over here going crazy dumb on offensive line. So that's what I'm really excited about. So the offensive line, quite the development there. We'll see how that continues to play out. Let's switch gears. Let's switch gears off the offensive line. Let's go to cornerbacks. This was the first day that I got to see Charvarius Ward. We got to see Emmanuel Moseley. Emmanuel Moseley was straight clamps today. Straight clamps. And yes, before I get too far deep down that particular rabbit hole, let's actually address. So I buried this particular situation. Let's see. Let me get it pulled up here so we can all jump in. Here we go. Boom. Bang. Bing. The San Francisco 49ers have released Deford. I'm sure you guys have heard about this already, but it becomes official. The 49ers have released Deford. I was starting to think, I was like, man, they haven't done it yet. Maybe there's an opportunity here. Maybe there's an opportunity here where Deford sneaks onto the roster one more time. Maybe there's an opportunity sneaks onto the roster one more time. Nah, almost. He almost wasn't able to do it. He did not be able to get through. Shout out Fabian for the super sticker. I really do appreciate it. So I am not surprised, but I think we're understanding that this was going to happen. I mean, they've talked about it at length, and it finally did happen. It's unfortunate. Again, this is a perfect example of just how injuries, this brutal sport, just it ends some careers too soon. I think Deford was one of those careers that ended a little bit too soon. He clearly was an impactful piece for the San Francisco 49ers. And as a result, you kind of have a situation here where the 49ers don't gain a ton of money. It's not a huge savings in regard to cap. It's not a huge savings in regard to really anything. It's just one of those situations where it's come to an end, and the 49ers, who once traded, I believe, a second-round pick for Deford, gave him a really big contract extension, unfortunately have to cut him loose. But I do want to make it clear that Deford was so impactful to the 2019 run, the special year that the San Francisco 49ers had. Ultra important, ultra impactful. When Deford was on the field, the stats to kind of supplement how elite the defense was, a lot related to Deford and how much pressure this guy could generate. And it really translated into success with the other defensive linemen that they had. So it's unfortunate. But we did see Robert Nkemdiche today. We did see, I would have to imagine that the Nkemdiche signing and the Deford release were kind of a comorbid situation. Probably why I was referenced earlier as Nostradamus. I imagine it was just more of a red tape thing, more of an administration thing. They had to clear a certain date or timeline before it could like officially go through. That's my assumption. I don't know. But saw Robert Nkemdiche today. Nkemdiche was vibing with the fans today. Saw him out there. High energy today. So that was cool. It was cool to see Robert Nkemdiche. He went over to all the Niner fans. He was like, yeah. He was getting hyped. So that was pretty cool. But this was the news that dropped right before we came on. Wanted to make sure that we got to that. Maybe let's take a little bit of a break and watch some video for ourselves. We got a little Trey Lance warming up here. As you can see, I don't spot any arm fatigue here. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing it, but and so right now you can see they're doing this little drill. You can see the towels there are trying to like work their foot placement and things like that. So that's why those towels are on the ground. He's adjusting them as we speak. But so far, Trey Lance, everything that we saw today looked pretty good. I saw this. From everything that I've read, it looked like Aziz got his wind knocked out, and he has those clunky arm braces, and it sounded like the arm brace kind of hit him in the side and knocked his wind out. So I don't think it was anything too serious, but it was something that happened. But based on everything that I've seen from some of the beat reporters and all that kind of stuff, I think it was missed. Nothing too crazy happened. But again, look at that spiral, baby. I don't see no wobble. Where's that wobble? Wobbledy, wobbledy, wobbledy. Don't see it. So Trey Lance looking nice. Look at zipping. It looked good to me. So again, small sample size. We'll see what happens when the bullets fly and the pads come on and take it up to a different tempo, a different level. Again, he's throwing against air. We understand how that works. But for the most part, looked pretty good. Can we talk about how much the fans love George Kittle? Can we talk about how much the fans love George Kittle? This was the scene after practice today. George came out. The entire place erupted, just screaming for George. Just screaming. You see all the people running over. Like, a lot of players came over, signed autographs today, but when George came out, oh boy, it was like the president of the 49ers was here. Absolute fan favorite. And some of you might notice there's like a dude wearing a Patrick Mahomes jersey trying to get an autograph too. Hilarious. Sourdough Sam roasted him earlier, kind of pointed him out and got booed pretty good by the rest of everyone. So it's pretty funny. But the people love George Kittle. George Kittle loves the people. He commented on the post saying, I love y'all. So shout out George, the people's tight end. He's a legend. I'll give you a little like there, Georgie. I didn't know I didn't like that. So today was fun. We got Debo on the sideline. This was from like a little live I did on Instagram, just kind of looking around. But here is Debo off to the side. So you can see he looks fine. But again, they're just waiting to get that man signed before they integrate him into practice. You had someone leak potential deal is imminent, probably, but we'll see. We will see. This video here was probably my favorite video of the day. The dude who looked like him. Here comes Javon Kinlaw. And look at the way all the homies react. Like, let's go. The homies are happy to have Javon Kinlaw back. Oh, boy. Oh, yeah. It smells like... Smell that? Smells like football. Smells like football. We got some rookie hype machine today, too. We've seen the flags before. I'd prefer not to do the same as previous, but it's okay. I might have to get on here and rate the rookie hype machines after every one, since I have seen so many of them and I'm a rookie hype machine connoisseur. I would probably give this rookie hype machine a 5.7. I need a little bit more juice. A little bit more originality, especially from guys like Leon O'Neal and Taylor Hawkins, big personalities. Need a little bit more juice, but still good. 5.7. Not the best, but not bad. So that was a rookie hype machine today. Nothing too crazy. Saw Bosa out there. We saw the boys out there. So it was just a good time overall. I got completely sidetracked, though, when I was talking about Emmanuel Mosley. From what I saw, we'll stick here, actually. From what I saw from Javon Kinlaw, he's moving well. He was doing individual drills where he's doing the change of direction drills. He's being able to they're showcasing bend while doing their hand fighting. He looked good. He looked like he's ready to go. And again, he's huge. But he looks thin. And I got to see Javon up close. He was standing about 10 feet away from me. Dude is just a monster. He's so big. He is so big. I would never want to have to go against him. He is just massive. But he looks great. He looks good. He looks ready to rock. So really, really looking forward to it. But again, I'll talk about this. Alfredo. We got some Alfredo today. Alfredo did not see a whole lot of run last year. It was something I talked about. He just didn't get a whole lot of run. And because, he was coming from the league in Mexico to the NFL, quite the jump, learning a new scheme, Kyle Shanahan scheme, going up against premier athletes. So he didn't get a whole lot of opportunities last year. And the opportunities that he did have, he had 2/3 of them. He's had a penalty. So Alfredo got some run. He was with the third team. He got opportunities. I didn't see any penalties on him. Again, hard to evaluate with no pads right now, but he was getting reps, which is a sign in the right direction for Alfredo. Like I said last year, he really didn't get any reps. So the fact that he's getting some reps is a good sign. And again, if you guys do have any questions while I'm kind of rambling on, feel free to drop them in the chat and I'll try to get to them. Hufanga starting at, yes, he is the starter. One of the cool things from today, again, when we were like about 2 feet away from all these guys, Hufanga was on the sideline. You had Leon O'Neal Jr., undrafted free agent. He was out on the field, and you could see Talanoa talking to him and signaling either what the coverage should be or just communicating to Leon. And that's pretty cool to see out of a second-year player, especially a player who is quote unquote in a competition for an open roster spot. What I saw was Talanoa Hufanga signal at Leon what it is. Then he talked to his coach, like they did a little chat, and then he yelled at him again, and they did the hand signal, and that's leadership. It's very small. It's very tiny example. But again, seeing Talanoa Hufanga in a second year helping an undrafted free agent rookie, Leon O'Neal, while he's out in team period, making sure that he's understanding the coverage, understanding what the role and responsibility is, because that's what Talanoa is going to need to do. He needs to communicate. He needs to be able to tell everyone where to line up, what to do, what the coverage is, what to expect. That's part of his job, playing a back end safety. So he has to be good at communication. And you got to see that. And again, it wasn't him communicating to the rest of the starters, it was him communicating to an undrafted free agent. And I thought that was pretty cool. But Hufanga's, I'm almost 100% certain that Hufanga is going to be the starter. Offensive line looks good. Again, it's really hard to get into the nuts and bolts of how they look because there's no pads. I talked about it for like 30 minutes about like the kind of the way the offensive line has been setting up, but I don't think it's over. So it's been interesting up until this point, but I think it's just getting started. Mike Mcglinchey looked really good. Mike Mcglinchey looked really, really good. He was thick last season. He was huge. He showed up to camp at 320, and you could see the 320. When Mike showed up, he looked so big. Not like bad big, but you could tell like he was noticeably thicker. He looks better. I think he looks better. I think he'll move better. Kind of being a little bit thinned out. It was also cool because I was watching Trey Lance on one particular clip, and then all of a sudden you see Mike Mcglinchey sprinting in the backfield. I'm like, oh, is that Mike? And I look back and you see Mike doing sprints to get warmed up. Mike looks good. Mike looks good so far. So we'll see what that transition looks like into training camp. But so far, he looks good. Yeah. I didn't see Mason get a whole lot of run in team period. Again, sometimes it was hard to see, but got to see him in kind of individual drills when the quarterbacks and running backs work the kind of zone read mesh. He looks good. Like he looks like a player. Again, for what it's worth, no pads, limited opportunities. Mason does he looks like an NFL back. At first, I was like, I thought it was Trey Sermon because they're all the way on the opposite field. So I kind of thought it was Trey Sermon at first, and I was like, oh no, that's Jordan Mason. He looks good. I think Jordan Mason's. I think Justin is right for getting the Jordan Mason jersey because I think Jordan Mason could be a guy that shows out. I think Trey Sermon worked in. I don't remember exactly if he took first team reps or not, but I know he was involved and he was getting handoffs in team periods. I'll try to keep a better eye out on that tomorrow. I actually wasn't watching the D-line too much. I was pretty focused on some of the other aspects, but that will be something that I will grab and look for tomorrow for sure. So far, from what I saw from the starting nickelback was Darquez Denard. So still looks like Darquez is holding that spot down. Tyreek Castro Fields, though, again, Kyle Shanahan's the quarterback in these drills. So It's when it's the defense and Kyle is throwing to trainers. It's literally Kyle's the quarterback in this drill, and he's throwing to other coaches and he's throwing to other guys. So it's like the most simplified scout period. But Tyreek Castro Fields picked off coach a couple times. I think he got one that I saw. I think he had another one. But well, I was like, all right, it's not too bad. Not too bad. We saw Captain Juice, but I didn't see a whole lot where super, again, not a ton of blocking. I did see a couple plays where they're checking down and throwing to the running back. So, again, I think we've kind of talked about how we think that the 49ers are going to be throwing to running backs more. I think we're kind of getting a slight indication of that with Anthony Lynn. I think they are going to be throwing to the running backs more. Maybe Captain Juice gets a couple snags himself because he's one of the best receivers on the team. Let's face it. The running back room as a whole, I think looks pretty solid. Now, again, it's hard to gauge in these types of practices because you don't know if a guy's should be tackled because they're not forcing contact. They're not wrapping up. It's guys just kind of wiggling through for the most part. Again, and they're running off blocks that aren't actual blocks. So we take all that for a grain of salt for what it is, but based on just physical tools that I've seen so far, the running back room looks pretty dang good. Brandon Nyuk was balling today. I'm pleased to report that. I'm pleased to report that today. Ayuk had this beautiful catch over the middle from Nate Sudfeld. It was a contested catch, so he had to fight for it, and he went up and he snagged it. I'm telling you, you know that energy that we got from Brandon Ayuk where he was just kind of passive last year to start. But when things clicked with Brandon Ayuk, you saw this like aggressive nature kind of come out of him. I saw that. I saw that today in person. Like it just felt like he was attacking the football. It was his ball. He was going to come down with it. He made a couple plays today. Ayuk looks good. Ayuk looks good. He made some tough catches today. So I'm really excited about that. He had some good snaps today. Thomas is getting a bad rap. Did you see anything that indicated he was purposefully chilling? I didn't see that, but again, I wasn't super locked in on DBs today. I talked about it before. Like I only have 2 eyes, and so I have to pick and choose position groups or players that I kind of move through and try to evaluate in an individual period. So I didn't get my eyes on Ambry today. But now that you've pointed out, I guess someone's talking about it. So I'll keep an eye out. It'll be something that I look for. It will be something that I'm looking for. Let's see. Yes, Danny Gray was practicing. So it looked like the primary returners, it was rotation between Danny Gray and Ray McLeod. Ray McLeod was the first out. Ray McLeod looks good in the open field. Ray just looks electric. Like Ray put out a post too after practice where he's feeling the love here from the 49ers. So I'm pretty excited about Ray. We've talked about Ray leading up to camp as someone who's probably going to shine in camp because he's just an electric player. And so he looks really good as a returner. Like, I think he looks really good as a returner. Danny Gray looks pretty good as a returner as well. So it really does feel like, at least as it stands right now, feels like Ray McLeod and Danny Gray, not McGray, are going to be potentially your primary returners for next year. So that's good. And Danny looked good as a returner. I didn't see too many opportunities from Danny Gray as a wide receiver. And that doesn't mean I couldn't have missed it. I just didn't see anything that stood out to me from Danny as a wide receiver. But I did notice him as doing returning drills, and he looked very smooth, very fast. Looked pretty dang good. Charvarius Ward, got to see Charvarius Ward. I thought one of the coolest things with Charvarius was, again, when we were standing right behind all the players lined up on the sideline, you had a fan screaming at Charvarius, like, Charvarius! Charvarius! And like Charvarius finally turned around, and Charvarius was standing right next to Trey. And this fan was like, is Trey Lance ready to be quarterback one? And he just was like, he's like, oh, hell yeah. Like, he was just like, he's ready. Like, he's like, oh, yeah, he's ready. And I was like, it was a dope moment. It was cool to see, like, a fan yell that at the player acknowledge the fan and be like, yeah, he's ready. Like, don't even trip. He's ready. So that was a cool moment from Charvarius Ward. I didn't see a whole lot from him in coverage. Again, the guy who stood out to me today in coverage was Emmanuel Mosley. Emmanuel Mosley was clamps today. Emmanuel Mosley he had at least 2 PBUs in T period. One really aggressive one on Juwan Jennings. One on a throw from Trey Lance. I forget who was targeted to. It was hard to see from my angle. I couldn't tell if the pass was like a little behind or not, but regardless, E-Man just was all over the place. Looked really, really good from what I saw. So, not too bad. Not too bad. But yeah, man, overall, it's a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to get back out. What player's gonna take the next step? That's a good question. I'm really excited for Kinlaw. I think Kinlaw is going to take a step. I think Talanoa Hufanga is going to take a step. Emmanuel Mosley, I think, has an opportunity to get even better. I think Emmanuel Mosley is quietly like one of the most underrated 49ers today. And absolutely, I got some sun today. Definitely got some sun today. But overall, for the most part, one of the cooler plays from today is you had Brock Purdy hit Jordan Matthews over the middle, and then Jordan Matthews got the angle on the defense and took off. And then you had George Kittle run all the way down the field to celebrate with him. And it was pretty fun. It was pretty fun. It was a fun first day. Now, again, a reminder, there's no pads. So everything that, again, a lot of people could look really good against air, things like that. A lot of people might not. When the pads come on, that's when the real like evaluation begins. But right now, we're kind of getting a sense. We're getting a sense of who's lining up where with which position groups. We're getting a sense of body language and vibe and like energy and those types of things. Overall, energy on practice today was up. Felt like it was pretty evenly spread. It felt like the defense had some good reps. The offense had some good reps. There's nothing that really set off any alarms for like, oh no. But again, the offensive line thing is going to be something that I think continues to progress, and I'm really excited about it. Really, really excited about it. It was fun to be back. It's fun to see the faithful out there. Shout out to all the homies that said what's up. Got to meet a lot of you guys. That was really cool. Got to take some pictures with some of you guys. It's pretty cool. It's still, I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit like still surreal. Like when I'm just chilling there, people come up, hey bro, love your content. I'm like, man, I appreciate that. I really, really do. So again, you see this, you see this ginger beard hanging out at training camp. Come say what's up. But I hope you guys get an opportunity to go to training camp. It's a lot of fun if you can. If not, I will continue to try to bring all of the content that I can bring from a video standpoint, from analysis standpoint, all that type of stuff. Does our DB linebackers unit look nice? Yeah, 100%. 100%. I'm really excited about that group. Really excited about the linebackers. Really excited about the cornerbacks. Lot of good stuff in front of us. So, training camp will be back tomorrow. Last I talked to Aponte, he got delayed like 10 times. Last I talked to him, he was still in the air right before I hopped on. He's probably landed by now. But he got delayed a ton of times. So we feel bad for Aponte, but Aponte will be with us tomorrow. And we will probably get Aponte on with Jordan, hopefully. And we can talk about it all. But Tyler Kroft looked decent for what it's worth. Trying to think of anyone else who kind of stood out. Malik Turner stood out. That's a guy. Malik Turner stood out in a couple plays. Again, he's a guy who's going to be fighting for that number 6 wide receiver spot. So we'll see about that. Yeah, I'm going to see if we can get the spicy sourdough vibes tomorrow. Try to see if we get the spicy sourdough vibes tomorrow after training camp. Hopefully we can all go live. I think that would be fun. Dwelly made a couple plays out there. I think right now is a good time to be a 49er fan. I think it is. I think the 49ers roster is built. I think they have a lot of kind of internal competitions going on at the right spots. I'm pretty excited about it. So, biggest takeaway from today's camp, again, no pads. Take it for what it's worth. Depth looks good. There's a lot of talent out there. And if they can gel at the right time, this team can win some football games. There's so many good pieces out there that it's going to be a lot of fun. So really, really excited. Really looking forward to get back tomorrow. So I'll be back at training camp tomorrow. Hopefully get to bring on, we can do a live with Spicy Aponte. And we can kind of recap training camp practice tomorrow. But again, shout out to everyone who tapped in. Smash that like button if you haven't already. We'd really appreciate it. You already know. I'm a little sun-baked. I'm a little tired. I've been up early. And driving all over the bay today. Definitely need some more coffee. We can get to 200 before we get out of here. We can get to 200 before we get out of here. Let's go, SDS. Do me a solid. Smash that like button. Let's get to 200 before we clock out today. I'll also to probably be hopping on over to do IG Live just to say what's up to IG. After this, definitely won't be as long or in depth, but I just want to vibe a little bit with IG. So I might do that right after this. But again, smash that like button. Get us up to 200. Oh, just like that. Already up to 184. Just like that. My guy said, "Did you chop the locks?" No, sirree. We're still bunny gang. We're still bunny gang out here. Woo 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 woo. Why don't I do TikTok? I just do a lot of content right now for a lot of platforms. Content on TikTok will probably eventually come, but I'm one person at this point. But I do need to do some TikTok. Oh, we're close. We're close. 193. Once we get to 200, we outie 5,000. And we will be reporting to you next tomorrow with more training camp updates, news, and notes. Shout out all the gang. Shout out all the SDS for continuing to tap in and vibe with your boy. You guys know we already appreciate it. I don't disagree with this. IG is trash. I could go on a huge rant about how trash Instagram is, and it's a huge reason why you see the YouTube platform that we have built, because I cannot stand Instagram. And it's unfortunate because Instagram was once a good platform, but now it's just terrible. But that's a pod for another day. At this point, like I said, I still might hop over to Instagram no matter how much crap I talk about it. So I appreciate you guys tapping in. Make sure you hit that, you smash that sub button if you haven't. Make sure you hit that like button and get us to 200. Boom, just like that. We're at 200. Appreciate the gang. And hit those noties because we're gonna have a lot of content coming up. I'm gonna be at training camp practice for every day that it's there, that it's available to us. So we're gonna be keep coming back with more content, more practice clips, all the good stuff, more analysis. And again, just wait until pads come on. That is the next milestone. We got to camp. We got 49ers football. Everything is lovely, but it gets ramped up another notch when pads come on. So really, really looking forward to it. And I cannot wait. For now, I am out. Again, you can catch me on Instagram probably for a little IG live session. But I appreciate you guys for tapping in on YouTube. As always, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, wherever you're watching from. Appreciate you all. Maybe we get a sourdough TikTok dance going. I don't know. We'll see. But appreciate the squad. I'm out.